Here's another example of bad parenting by your God. Now, I know we've talked about the Genesis story multiple times, the Adam and Eve story multiple times, but I want to add a little tidbit to the whole Adam and Eve things and why Eve is not at fault. But God of the Bible is completely at fault. So when you look at the Adam and Eve story, one of the things that you have to recognize is that Adam and Eve not knowing the difference between good and evil, Adam and Eve only having to know of God and then these creatures that are talking, because obviously the animals talked in the story because it says the snake was the most cunning of all the other animals. So the other animals must have had the ability to talk during that time frame. It reminds me of the Broadway play Wicked, where the animals could talk, and then all of a sudden they wanted the animals to stop talking. And now it's amazing for an animal to talk. So anyway, all the animals could talk. So this is what their world was. This is their worldview. Talking animals, talking God. God told them, hey, don't eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Even though it looked good, don't eat from it because you're going to die. That's what he told Adam. Eve, she added a little extra to it. Even if you touch it, you're going to die. But if you think about it, when the serpent supposedly spoke to Eve and told her, nah, he lying to you. You just know in the day that you eat it, you're going to become like the gods. You're going to know the difference between good and evil. And he lying to you, even though the devil was telling the truth. But the serpent, not the devil, was telling the truth. Eve said no at first. First, she said no. I'm going to let that sink in for a second. First, she said no. For God has told us that in the day that we eat it, or even if we touch it, we shall die. Now, most of you Christians believe that, or Bible believers believe that your God is omnipresent. He's omniscient. He's omnipresent. He knows all things, and he's always present. So he's heard her say no the first time and did not intervene at that moment to stop the serpent from continuing to try to beguile her or tell her the truth. So whose fault is it at this point when the child, because she got a childlike mind as far as the knowledge of good and evil, says no, and then you allow him to continue? So let me give you an example. I remember when my oldest child, right? There were we were at this pool event, and she was little, and this other child was trying to get her to run around the pool. And I had told my child previously, when we get there, no running, no running. You walk, no running, right? My child, I was standing there, and the other little child was like, "Come on, let's run, let's run." And Cindy said, "No." My daddy said, not to run. The other child was like, "No, no, no, that's right." And I then stepped in and said, "Hey, neither one of y'all gonna run. And if you want to go over there, you walk over there." Right? Good parent. I'm a great parent. Good parent. I intervened because I was present and I saw my child do what I had instructed her to do. And I was not going to allow peer pressure to continue to press my child. Matter of fact, this also is something that happened with my children when they were in high school, that they would tell me about how one of their little raggedy friends was trying to put peer pressure on them about something that they had learned from me or their mom about what not to do about a situation. And I was like, you need to stop hanging around your little raggedy friend. If they can't respect what you have to say, you need to stop hanging around your little raggedy friend. And 99% of the time, our children listened and they didn't hang around the little raggedy friend no more. My son, I told him, if a woman is not giving you a return on your investment or what you're putting into her, you need to break up with her. Multiple times, this little joker has done that. My two daughters, same damn thing. But this God stands there and allows for the serpent to continue to egg on his child that he has omnipresence of, and he does nothing. I'm a better parent than God. You got dang right. And I will state it and stand 10 toes down on it. And most of you are better parents than God. Most of you Christians, are better parents than the God that you believe in. Because you just skip over that fact that Eve first said no, but in her childlike mind, as far as the knowledge of good and evil, not knowing that that in your thought process, the the serpent telling her over and over again, trying to convince her that that was evil, even though he was telling the truth. The serpent was actually telling the truth. They did not die in the day. The word used there is yom. You cannot jump to First Peter and say, "Oh, well, one day to God is 1,000 years to man." And nobody in the Old Testament ever said that. And nobody in the Old Testament ever thought that. That is all somebody trying to renegotiate the Bible to make it fit into the Old Testament, to fit into their New Testament mindset, because people were recognizing God lied. He's a lying ass liar. So Eve is not wrong. And y'all need to stop blaming Eve. Matter of fact, you want to blame anybody, you blame God. Second to that, blame Adam. Because according to the story, and most of you, you think that Adam was standing right there. And if Adam was standing right there and Eve was still listening, why didn't Adam say, "Hey, look at a woman. No, 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 come on. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Come on." Mm-hmm. If he didn't step in and say nothing, his ass is wrong too. But this little punk butt sat up there and ate the fruit right after she did, and he's supposed to know better too. So just because the New Testament blames Eve, especially Paul, blames Eve, because what does Paul say? Because it was the woman who first, when he tells y'all to be quiet and shut the hell up in the churches and not to have authority over man, he said because it was first, the woman was first to be deceived. And that's his justification for his gender bias, his sexism. And you women still follow this book and this Bible. You might want to stop. But hey, stupid is as stupid does. Because you have to be stupid. This is not out of ignorance. This is out of stupidity. There is a vast difference. Vast difference. So, ladies, it is not Eve's fault, even if you believe in this Bible. It is your God's fault. Blame your God. Ladies, it is not Eve's fault. If you don't blame the God, then it is Adam's fault. So, Adam wasn't a real man. He was a punk. He was a pab, a punk ass bitch. That's what Adam was. So, that's why maybe y'all should start evaluating your men better, because he's a punk ass bitch if a man is following Adam. So y'all have a great day. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.